the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast, the official podcast of Football Italia. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima Tavalli. On today's show, we will review the weekend Serie A matches. Juventus beat Inter in an exciting derby d'Italia thanks to a Chico Conceicao goal. Inter missed the chance to go top as Napoli's difficult run continued as a late Boulaye Dia equalizer earned Lazio a 2-2 draw in another exciting game in Rome. Atalanta's poor form in 2025 continued as they were held by Cagliari. Santiago Gimenez scores late for Milan as they beat Hellas Verona. Matias Soule finally emerged for Roma with a quite beautiful free kick against Parma. We'll also preview the Champions League and Europa League playoff matches, and we'll have our usual Baggio, Premface and Serie ASS of the week. For all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode that we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including a weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and become a subscriber for just $2.99 plus VAT. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. The link's in the description. It's the same price and terms. And for all of you that do listen on all of these platforms, really appreciate if you give us a 5-star rating, give us a follow, and a like, and also we are on YouTube, so do subscribe to us there. All of that really helps us to grow and do more content for you guys. We're also you can also now, by the way, become a patron on YouTube via YouTube memberships. Just go to our YouTube channel on youtube.com/@itafootpod for more details. Okay, let's get into today's show. So, only one place to start, of course, the Derby d'Italia Sunday evening game in Turin. Juventus win 1-0. A very, very exciting game. I think a great game for the neutral to watch. A good advertisement for Italian football. High-paced game and a game of two halves. If we start off with from Juventus's point of view, first of all, the important thing is Juventus won this game. It's a massive win for Juventus. Forget the performance, first of all, which we'll come to. The most important thing was that they win this game. For the top four, for Thiago Motta's future, for the confidence of the players, for the PSV game, of course, that's coming up on Wednesday. And, of course, beating your most, your bitterest rivals. So winning the game, even if, you play badly, however you perform, winning was always going to be the most important in a match like this, and Juventus managed to do that. And we'll see whether this can finally be the kickstart of Juventus' season, or whether it's another false dawn. We've had so many of these false dawns this season where Juventus win a big game and then they don't kick on. So that's the most important thing from Juventus' point of view. If we look at the actual match itself, this is clearly, and it's probably going to be a similar analysis for both teams, but from Juventus, this was clearly a game of two halves for Juve, which is kind of strange because the first half, Juventus were a mess, a complete mess. And they did have a few half chances on the break, but they were completely dominated by Inter. I mean, it looked like the gulf between the two teams looked absolutely huge in that first half. I mean, Inter should have been at least 2 up. The game should have been over, really, at half-time, if we're really honest. I mean, Dumfries and Lautaro both missed sitters. Dumfries hit the post. Inter wasted countless openings where they should have created big chances but didn't because they got the final pass wrong. I remember one where Bastoni had two players in the middle just waiting to tap it in and he overhits it. Like chances like that should have become big chances. I thought structurally Juventus were a mess, that they couldn't get out into a dominating possession. Juventus's press was non-existent. Inter were playing through them so easily, finding the holes in front and behind the midfield. And it kind of looked at half-time like more evidence that Juventus had lost their kind of remaining identity under Motta, which was, at least controlling possession, at least being tight defensively. And it was a miracle, Juventus at heart, even though they did have a few kind of half chances on the break. It was a miracle Juventus were 0-0 at half time. I think Inter had an XG of 1.57 at half time, which is mad, really, in a game like this. So, and it looked at half time whether, Inter would win this game if this continued. There was no doubt about that. But then, as I said, game of two halves. The second half, Juventus were a completely different team. Straight from the whistle, they pressed up high. They forced mistakes from Inter. And I think this was the key thing. It's something that I wanted to discuss when we talk about this from the Inter point of view. Physically, they looked much better than Inter in the second half. They were more up for it, especially in that second half. They were fighting, they were battling, they were winning the duels, winning the second balls. They stopped Inter. While Inter found it so easy constructing in the first half, Inter couldn't construct in the second half. Whereas on the other hand, Juventus were able to construct themselves. They couldn't construct themselves. They were using the ball much better, especially when Cambiasso came on. They were able to play out and get up the pitch. And Juventus created the chances in the second half. They conceded almost nothing, except for the one where Di Gregorio pushed it onto the post. And I think on the stats that didn't count because it got called back, which I don't think was the right decision. But that's the only chance I think Inter really created in the second half. Whereas Juventus scored the goal, Miners had one off the line, and Juventus were the team the more dominant team in the second half. I thought their second half performance was really, really excellent, and Juventus deservedly won the second half. And as a result, they ended up winning the game. So yeah, game of two halves from Juventus. Poor first half, excellent second half, and ultimately they get a huge, huge win, massive win for their season.
They've won 3 games in a row in the Serie A. They've won 4 games across all competitions on the trot. It's a decisive week, and they've won 2 of those 3 decisive games. And that's why they're feeling better about themselves. And they should be. The performance might not have been outstanding, but it doesn't really matter at this point when you are in a crisis, as Juventus have been in. You just got to build confidence. And this kind of win builds confidence. I tweeted out as soon as 3 minutes into the second half that we're just waiting for the Juventus goal. And we were, because Juventus showed character, showed hunger, showed desire and intensity, and was switched on, and in a way that Inter were not. And no more does this become more evident than Kolo Muani battling against 4 Inter players ahead of the goal, winning every single one of those battles because he wanted it more. And Conceicao then buries it. I agree with everything you said, except for the fact that this was a good advert for Italian football. This was one of the worst Derby d'Italias qualitatively I've seen in my life. The sheer number of misplaced passes, simple mistakes, technical errors was abhorrent to me from both teams.
I guess what I mean is a good spectacle in terms of the excitement.
Yeah, it was a very exciting game.
It was an exciting game to watch. That's what I mean.
It was an exciting game in the sense that the atmosphere and you could feel the tension in the air and that it meant a lot to both teams. Yes, but on an individual level, Carlo, this was genuinely a...
No, yeah, and I said the first half structurally, I thought Juventus were a mess.
Not just Juve, I'm talking both teams.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking from Juventus' point of view.
The quality of a game overall was
but I mean, it was exciting to watch. There was loads of chances.
It was 0-0
at half time.
Excitement is one thing, but I'm talking about the technical quality.
Yeah, for sure. But you get a lot of what I mean is it was like a Premier League. You get a lot of Premier League games like this. Where there's lots of errors. There's lots of
That's fair.
What I mean? I guess that's what I meant.
No, I get that.
The average person, they wouldn't have switched off watching this.
No, they wouldn't have, because it was exciting, absolutely. But and it was a very you could feel the tension in the air. And those are the games that people remember and they stick to watch. But Juventus wanted it more. It's very clear that this is, but we'll get to this when we get to Inter. But Juventus showed hunger, showed desire, showed a will, like we saw against PSV, that that's why they've won both of these games. They weren't necessarily much better in either of these two games, but they wanted it more. They showed more hunger and desire and willpower and mental strength. Like I said, Kolo Muani before that goal just demonstrates that by sheer willpower and hunger and fight and grit
Yeah.
when winning 4 challenges against 4 players at once. And the ball goes to Conceicao, and when he scores that's game over then, because these are low scoring affairs, and it was essentially game over from then on. And Juventus Inter had nothing after that. It was completely dead, and they had no shape and no structure, and Juventus just controlled the game out until the end. And it is a huge win for Juve, because in a weekend where Lazio drop points, where Milan win, and Fiorentina lose, this was fundamental for Juve to win this game in the top 4 race,
Oh,
because there's no
without doubt, and
space.
that might play into it actually. Maybe after the Napoli draw, Inter, it wasn't so. I mean, you might say differently when we speak about Inter, but for me, this was a more important win. It was more important for Juventus to win this game than it was for Inter. Inter can lose or draw this game, and they're still, they're still in touch there with Napoli. Whereas for Juventus had to win this game for the top 4. Otherwise, Milan close on them, and the Lazio stay ahead of them, and they're running out of time, and so I think it was more important, and I think maybe that's why certainly in the second half Juventus went for it more in the second half, and they tried to win the game more. But I mean, I want to praise. There was a number of individual performances from Juventus that I thought were really, really good. First of all, Gatti and Vega, both of them, certainly from like you said, from a mental point of view, they both played like warriors in this game. Vega has had a very, very good start to his Juventus career. 4 games, 4 wins. He did make one mistake with that chance when Inter hit the post, where he wanted the foul. I haven't seen it back from every angle, but don't think that was a foul. I mean, Inter missed it anyway, but he got away with that one. But apart from that, I thought he was excellent. I really like his mentality and his character. He's very vocal. He's very strong. I mean, he's a monster physically for his age, but he battles. He roughs up attackers. I saw one moment where Thuram was half fit, but he matched Thuram physically, which very few do. He's made a difference. Vega, definitely, since he's come in. He hopefully he will actually be a good signing for. I mean, Juventus don't have an option on him, but from now until the end of the season. And I thought Gatti was outstanding again, as he was against PSV. He really turned up in this game. Di Gregorio, he made some big saves when he was needed. I thought he was excellent. Thuram in the second half was outstanding. I've compared him to a kind of poor man's Patrick Vieira in the past. I mean, he's not on that level, of course, but the way that he drives with the ball into space, and he takes the ball from his own half into the into the half of the opponent. Like, we saw that a lot in the second half in this game against Inter, and he's got such physical strength and such great physique, and I thought he was excellent, Thuram. And of course, Muani, as you said, I mean, fantastic play for the goal, that roulette, which is becoming kind of a signature move for Juventus players at the moment after Yildiz did it the other week. I really, really enjoyed his physical battle with Acerbi, because Acerbi usually beats up even top attackers. We've seen it so many times where he's physically dominated top attackers. And Muani gave as good as he got in the physical battle with Acerbi. Like, again, talking about mentality, I like Muani's mentality. I like how he stands up to opponents. I like how he duels with them. He chased back and made one really good tackle at one point as well. Like, I really like that mentality. It's a winning mentality that he's got, and as opposed to Vlahovic, who just sulks and moans and complains and doesn't use his weight, doesn't throw his weight around in the correct way. So I thought Muani was really, really good. Conceicao, of course, he scored the winner. He went close in the first half. Coop Miners, not good in the first half, but I thought more positive in the second half, and he could have scored. So that was a little bit better. He's still not where he should be, though. And the only other one I want to praise, Cambiasso, when he came on, definitely took the game even more into Juventus' favour because, and I think we saw the previous day, in these last few games, I've been critical of Juventus because I've said that they've lost the identity of Motta in that before with Motta, at least Juventus used to dominate possession. They could construct from the back. They could get out of the first press. They could work their way up the pitch. Of course, it all used to fall down once it got into the final third. But with Cambiasso out in these 4 games, that's just disappeared. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together. As soon as Cambiasso came on, it was so obvious how Juventus were able to construct from the back and get through that first wall of Inter's, make it into midfield and make it up the pitch. And we saw that with Cambiasso. I thought he was outstanding. And we saw kind of how important his inversions are as well into midfield in helping Juventus build up the play. So that is what Cambiasso brings when he's playing well. So I thought he was excellent as well. So there was a lot of really good individual performances from Juventus. I can't really criticise anyone. Maybe Savona I thought wasn't great. I thought Dumfries was bullying him bullying him a lot actually in that first half. But other than that, I thought everyone really played pretty well. And Juventus now just need to take the second half performance, because I think I've seen a lot of Juventus fans, obviously they're excited, they've beaten a rival, that's great, but I've seen a lot of Juventus fans kind of getting carried away. Because you remember the second half, you generally forget the first half. When you play well in the second half and you win, you tend to forget what happened in the first half. Juventus were genuinely really structurally awful in that first half. It was painful watching how bad. So they can't get carried away. They need to try and take that second half performance and play like that second half. Because if they play like that second half going forward, then they're going to have nothing to worry about between now and the end of the season. That's the key. Shall we move to Inter?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So let's move to Inter. So first of all, the bottom line is that Inter missed a chance to go top. Napoli, they slipped up, they drew, and Inter could have gone top. Now, my analysis of this game is similar to Juventus, only the other way round. Inter were absolutely fantastic in the first half in their dominance of the game. They completely battered Juventus. 1.57 xG to 0.31. They controlled all the game. They dominated territory. They were all over Juve, but they missed their chances. They wasted so many big chances, and so many big chances to create big chances as well. And then the second half, they disappeared. I'm not sure what happened in the second half. They didn't have the same intensity. Juve took over physically. Maybe, this is what I'm thinking, maybe Inter went too hard in the first half and they ran out of steam. Maybe we should give credit to Motta to turn it around. But ultimately, Inter lost this game, I think, because they didn't put their chances away. The game should have been over at half time.
Well, it's Groundhog Day, because how many times have we said this in this season about Inter? Inter create chances, fail to score, and then run out of steam in the second half, get countered, and lose the game or draw the game. Can't kill off chances. It's repetitive and it's boring to talk about. It's evident that this team is not the same Inter at all that we saw last season, and it's a combination of factors. It's a combination of a physical and mental fatigue, but it's also what Mkhitaryan said after the game. And he says, I can only speak for myself, but maybe the problem is that we know how strong a team we are and we relax too much. Then we go out on the pitch and we're not fully focused. We think we can win all matches and in the end we pay. That's arrogance. That is complete and utter arrogance as well. And just goes to show that, and this is on top of all the other things that we've seen. And because I don't think it's just arrogance. I think they're definitely arrogant, but it's also a physical and mental aspect that they don't have enough tank in the gas, and they don't have enough gas in the tank. Sorry, and they can't kill off games, and it's not just one player or two players. But if we're talking about symbolism here, Lautaro Martinez is his Inter, and he's the symbol of this Inter. And nothing speaks more about this Inter this season than Lautaro Martinez this year. That first half 4 chances, 4 shots, not a single one on target, one more fluffed and abhorrently poor than the other. And the fourth shot that was blocked was not blocked by a Juve player. It was blocked by his own left leg. By his right leg, sorry, when he was shooting with his left leg. That's just, I don't know what to say to that. Inter's captain, 10 million net a year. That's what we've seen this season. Empoli, Sparta Prague, Lecce, best player on the pitch. Milan, Napoli, Juve, what? 0 goals, 0 assists? I mean, this is what we've seen all season. And when your captain, the guy who's supposed to lead you, is like this and consistently is like this inconsistently, then what do you expect? Inter let Napoli off the hook. This was the weekend where Inter was supposed to show what they're made of. And they showed what they're made of. Paper mache. Mentally, they're made of paper mache. They don't have the same hunger in the Serie A as they do in the Champions League for various reasons, because they haven't won the Champions League. They've won this group of players have won the Scudetto once or twice. They've dominated in Italy, and they don't seem to have the same hunger in the league as they do in Europe. And that's just, that's all we can say. After we're on February 17th. And this is what I mean when you compare, this is what I meant when I said that this Inter does not have the consistency that is needed to win the league. And the only reason they are still within a shot of winning the league is, again, several factors. Well, they do have world-class individuals who can decide, even when they're not having a good day, they can decide games on their own. And they have. And it's also because Juve and Milan have had a horrible season. They should have been fighting for the Scudetto. They're nowhere near fighting for the Scudetto. Napoli is overperforming, but they have lots of technical limitations and are overperforming. But in a normal season, when teams are performing as good as they should, Inter wouldn't be in the title race. They wouldn't, and they shouldn't. And this has been ongoing for the entire season. And if you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you.
I agree with most of that. I think if we separate kind of points from performances, which a lot of people don't do with Napoli as well, who we'll come to afterwards. I think it's definitely Inter's performances in Serie A have not have been of the same level as previous seasons, certainly last season. While I agree with most of that, clearly, look, they lost this game because they didn't put their chances away. They created so many chances.
Like they did against Juve 4-4. Like they did against Napoli when they missed a penalty.
Well, yeah,
they did against Milan when they played poorly and hit the post 3 times. It's Groundhog Day. I feel like Bill Murray here.
Well, the only thing I would look this up last night because I wanted to see, as a whole this season, I think that's true in some individual games. Inter actually have the best chance conversion rate in all of Serie A this season. They're overperforming their expected goals the most in Serie A season. They scored 58 goals in Serie A this season, which is the most in all of Serie A. Their expected goals, XG, is 53.5, so they've got a 4.5 positive increase on their expected goals, which is the highest in Serie A. So over the course of the season, overall, I don't think it's a problem with their finishing.
It is a problem.
It was a problem in this game.
I'll tell you why it's a problem. Because it goes to show exactly what I said. Another way of reading that is proving my point. The fact that Inter are not creating as much as they used to in previous seasons, but they're being saved because they have world-class players who can resolve situations on their own. That's not good enough. That's my point. When you look at Inter last season, they were a team that had fantastic players, but they had a system and they blew everyone off the park. They played everyone off the park. They're not doing that this season. They're getting by. The results are good, but the performances are lackluster at best.
No, I agree with that. I agree that they're not dominating teams like they were. I just wanted to make the point that in terms of their chance conversion rate, it's the best in Serie A this season, but in this game, definitely, and in some other big games, they haven't put their chances away. And when they haven't taken advantage of when they're on top in games, it's very rare at the top level to dominate a game from start to finish. Even when you're as good as superior as you've got to score when you're on top. Now
Yeah,
Inter were
simple as
completely
that.
on top for a whole 45 minutes, and it was like men against boys that first half. I thought Juventus had the odd flurry where they went forward and they had a few half chances. Sommer made one really great save, I thought, from Conceicao, deflected shot. So it wasn't like Juventus had nothing in the first half. But if you watch that game, it was the difference, the gulf between the two teams was massive. So that makes me think that I think physically, I definitely think that would probably be my biggest concern with Inter from this game. Are we seeing a bit of a physical decline? Inter do have quite an aging team in terms of their average age. You know, I wonder, and I think that maybe that's why Inter kind of managed that. It's very rare that you see Inter come out of the traps, really go after right from the first minute. Maybe this is why, because they don't have the legs, they don't have the physical qualities to maintain that, and they fall away in the second half, which is what happened in this game. Usually, we see Inter that kind of they start slowly, they do you know what I mean, and then they
Yeah.
slowly wear down the opposition and they take over and they win. Maybe this game has shown that that's the way Inter have to go, because physically, I don't know. That would be
It's a
my
good question.
that
It's a
would be
good
my
question.
takeaway from this game, because I definitely saw a huge physical decline, and that shouldn't have happened because you got to
Had
remember you
weeks to rest while
had
Juve
a
played a
whole
very
Juventus
gritty
played.
game against PSV.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point I was going to make. The other point I would make is maybe I don't know. Maybe are we, because we hear this all the time, Inter have the best depth in Serie A, and that has definitely been true over the course of 4 seasons. And when you compare Inter to Napoli's squad, and then Napoli's depth, which is just horrendous, even their manager was taking the piss out of it on the bench, which we'll come to. Are we overrating the depth that Inter
Yes.
have? I'm starting to come to this conclusion that maybe we are, because look, you know my opinion on Inter's attack in depth. I think it's horrendous. Their attack, the depth they have in attack. But even in midfield, like, let's be
I've
honest,
been saying the midfield depth
Zielinski,
is not
Zel-
good enough.
Zielinski's been disappointing. He has, from what you expect to what he's given. He's been disappointing. You know, he's got away with it because Inter are doing well. But I mean, I don't see much difference between Zielinski and Koopmeiners. Obviously, Zielinski was free. It was a free transfer. Koopmeiners was 60 million. Koopmeiners is in his peak of his career. Zielinski's 30. So, of course, it's not the same. But in terms of performance, I think Zielinski's been about on the same level as Koopmeiners this season. He really hasn't. He really has been disappointing. And you bring him on, and he doesn't strengthen the team
No.
at all.
Well, it's the midfield is where I've been banging on this drum for weeks, if not months, that the depth in midfield is non-existent. Because, as I keep saying, as I said after the Sparta Prague game, the most difficult role in the Inzaghi system is the three central midfield roles, because you have to be able to do a little bit of everything. You have to be able to run, you have to be dynamic, you have to be technically very good, you have to be a safe passer, you have to have creativity, you have to be able to read the game really well. Aslani, good technique, creativity, good passer, zero dynamism. The complete opposite is true of Fratesi. And then you have Zielinski, who is being forced to play in the regista role because Aslani can't play there. He doesn't like it. He offers. He's good on the ball. He's press resistant. He's technical, but he also doesn't offer the same dynamism that even Mkhitaryan does at the ripe old age of 36, because he's just not there. So yeah, the depth in midfield is where it is, because that's where you win games. You win games by dominating the midfield. And Inter don't do that this season. That's lay at the heart of everything I've said.
Yeah, I think Inter have great depth in defence. There's no doubt about that. And they have great depth on the left, like Augusto or Di Marco. You know, that's quality. But the centre midfilders, the depth is we
And
thought Inter.
Çalhanoğlu, I
But
don't
yeah,
know if it's
I want to come on to Cheltenham because I saw some really great stats on that, which I wanted to read out on Sky Italia. But I just want to finish my point on the depth. The centre midfield, the depth isn't what we thought, like you've just said. And then on the right, it's basically, I mean, are we now seeing? Is this the end of Darmian? Like, he never. He rarely even plays at right wing back now. Is he just a centre back now in his age? So the depth, maybe he's going, and then in an attack, there is just no depth at all. Taremi. This is the wrong game to criticise Taremi. I thought he did okay in the first half. He had one good, but he doesn't score goals. He's very rarely a threat on goal. And then the other backups are just way off it. Correa and Arnautovic as well. So the midfield and attacking depth is non-existent, and that is an issue, especially in midfield. And which I think the point you're going to make, that Mkhitaryan, what is he, 36 now, and Çalhanoğlu, since he's come back from these kind of succession of injuries, he's I'm going to read out a stat that some stats that I captured from Sky Italia last night on the Calcio Club. So this is Çalhanoğlu since he's come back from the succession of injuries. Chances created per 90 has gone down from 1.9 to 0.5. Balls recovered per 90 minutes has gone down from 5.7 per 90 to 2.1. Duels won has gone down percentage-wise from 57% to 32%, and percentage of second balls won has gone down from 54% to 31%. Of course, this is still quite a bit of a small sample size in the fact that maybe he isn't back to full fitness yet. But I think that's also part of the worry, because he has had a succession of injuries and he doesn't seem to be able to get back to his full fitness. And as a result, that's also affecting him. But this is clearly a player at the moment that we've seen recently in 2025. This isn't the same Çalhanoğlu. And that's affecting Inter as well, I think.
And they should have probably sold him to Bayern Munich when they had the chance in the summer, and reinvested and reinvigorated in the squad. It's Groundhog Day. You win the Scudetto, you don't improve, you take a step sideways, and then you wonder why the rest of the pack have caught up with you. Exactly like after Conte, but when they won the Scudetto then, but with the difference, of course, that then there was a financial meltdown. This last summer, they decided to take a 3-month holiday. And this is worse, because when you're in that situation they were after after COVID, when they won the Scudetto, that was different. That was financial meltdown. It was panic mode. This time around, they just decided not to do anything. We're fine as we are. We won the league by 15 points. Look at us, how awesome we are. And this arrogance is kind of, it permeates everything from Inter, and from the top down. And I think there needs to be a proper revolution in the summer.
And the signings haven't worked. Like, we've been critical, say, like of Juventus and Milan, although Milan had done good work in January, but Milan last summer, for their transfer market.
But they did something.
They did something. But I guess the point I'm making is, like, Inter have got away with it also because they've been doing well.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you actually look at the players that came in, Taremi's been a flop. Zielinski, I'm going to say, I think he's been a flop for what he was expected. Palacios wasn't ready and has been loaned out. Okay, maybe you say that's more of a signing for the future, but still, you brought in someone who hasn't contributed this season. I think Zalewski's been good, and I actually thought he was good in this game. So far, he's actually been really good. But it's early, isn't it?
Yeah, but Zalewski, I think, is a smart signing, because I think as long as Simone Inzaghi is there, I think he'll be a very serviceable player, because I think he can work in the Inzaghi system and get the most out of it. I actually like that signing. I think it's a smart signing. And he will work very well under Inzaghi. But the fact of the matter is they didn't do anything.
I didn't like Inzaghi's subs either, but again, it can come down to kind of, maybe the depth isn't as good. And
I like the subs. I don't have a problem with it. Bastoni hasn't delivered a proper cross in 3 months. Same with Di Marco. The crossing is abhorrent.
Oh yeah, Di Marco's off form. He's off form, Di Marco.
I mean, so is Bastoni. I mean, he can't make simple passes. There was a chance. The most glaring example of that is when Inter are countering and he miskicks it so far out. Now,
that's what I was referring to in the first half. We had two players. I think it was Lautaro and Dumfries, and it would have been basically.
Look, I said after the Sparta Prague game on the Sparta Prague game for patrons only, I said there's a iceberg on the horizon, and it has 4 tips. It's called Milan, Fiorentina, and Juve. Well, after 2 losses and 1 draw and 1 win, I think we can safely say that 3 of those tips have hit, and we're leaking in water. So maybe we should be honest about what Inter are this season. And it is a team that is not built to compete more than on one or two fronts. That's just the reality of it. And they're going to have to make a decision as to what front that is. The longer they're dragged in this title race with Napoli, the more it's going to impact Champions League. The longer they're in the Coppa Italia, the more it's going to impact the Serie A and the Champions League. They need to make a decision. That's just the reality of it. It's not something we should be happy about, because Inter should be constructed to compete on all fronts. But the fact of the matter is, the reality is, they're not. They can't. They're just not able to. And
Can I ask
you're going to have to
Yeah,
choose.
I agree. What do you make of Inter's poor record against the big clubs this season? Is it just coincidence? Is there something more to it? Because they played Milan. Milan they've played twice and they've got a loss and a draw. Or was it three times? They lost in the. How many times
Yeah.
have they played Milan? Three times,
Three.
and they haven't won any of
Supercoppa.
them. Yeah,
No.
lost two. They lost two. They lost the Super Cup final and drew. And then Juventus they played twice. They've got a draw and a loss. They played Napoli once
Draw.
and they drew. Okay, they beat.
Fiorentina 1 loss, 1 win.
Yeah.
Atalanta won 2 wins.
Yeah, I mean they always beat Atalanta, but I mean, okay, they beat Arsenal, I guess,
Yeah, but I don't count the
in
champion.
the
I mean, if you
Champions
look in
League.
the Serie
I mean, in
A,
Serie A, the record against the big clubs
it's
has
atrocious.
been really poor this season. What do you make of that?
I make of it that they don't. If you look at those games, 4-2, 4-4 last 15 minutes. Napoli game, they didn't. It was a very evenly balanced game, but they had a chance to win it. They missed penalties. Against Fiorentina, they got battered, 3-0. Worst defeat of the season. Juve yesterday, again, they don't have the killer instinct in the league this year. It's very evident that they don't. The concentration, the hunger isn't there. As I said, Mkhitaryan said it, Bastoni said it a couple of weeks ago. They don't have the same hunger in the league this year, and that's an indictment. That's where they are. I think there's physical and mental implications of that as well.
Yeah,
I think
listen, at the end of the day, if we're looking at this purely from where Inter stand now, it's not the end of the world them losing this game.
no. I'm going to
Because
get to that. I'm going to get to that.
Napoli drew and have massive problems, as we'll come to. They're only 2 points behind Napoli, and they're still in all the other competitions. My only concern, I think, would be, and I'm not worried about the missed chances because I think that the again they're scoring loads and they've actually got the best chance conversion in Serie A. So as a whole, I'm not worried about that. What my one worry for Inter would be physically, the drop off in the second half, the aging team, maybe like the lack of depth isn't what we thought. Whether that's going to affect Inter, going into this run-in when the Champions League games are going to come, there's going to be extra games. Whether physically we're seeing an Inter that maybe is starting to decline a little bit physically.
There's no doubt about that.
That's my only worry. I'm not worried about anything else. Missed chances. I mean, at the end of the day, you'd rather Inter have an XG of over 2 and miss loads of chances than have an XG of 0.1 and not create anything. So I'm not worried about that. I'm just physically, for me, that's a bit of the concern for me.
Yeah, it's not just that. It's also. I mean, that is a point, absolutely. But for me, look, if I look at it, if I analyze it overall, looking from above, everything I said is what I think, and this is what I've been saying for a month and a half, 2 months now. But if I look at the actual maths of it, if I look at going forward, this next week is very decisive because Inter have Genoa at home. They have to win that. And if they do, Napoli have Como away, and Como are not an easy game. Como can easily draw Napoli. And if they draw Napoli, then Napoli and Inter face off on the same points. And that means that this is still very much up in the air, because what matters the most when you travel to Naples for Inter is not to be chasing Antonio Conte. You do not want to go into that game chasing Antonio Conte. It's very simple. If they're on, so that changes the dynamic of that game completely. But equally, Inzaghi needs to come to terms with the fact that he can't keep trying the same thing over and over again and failing. He needs to understand that games go on for 90 minutes. He needs to manage the games better, and he needs to, in the sense that you can't have. I don't want to sit here and keep talking about Inter dominated, created so much in the first half, but didn't score and then lost. That could be the entire season. That's literally the entire season, and he needs to shake things up here. And Lautaro was furious yesterday after the game, and I'm happy that he was. This is, I'm glad that as a captain he's angry. This is his Inter. This is him. This is his time to shine. So I'm glad that he's pissed off. He should be angry, and they should all be angry. And the fact that I don't think we can talk about just the individuals, because I think they all kind of at some level were not good enough. But yeah, there are issues at Inter. From Sommer, who's starting to decline, Acerbi, De Vrij, Mkhitaryan, Darmian, Arnautovic, Correa, Taremi, Çalhanoğlu. I'm sorry, there's too many 30-plus players here. There's too many, Zelinski. I mean, there's too many players around 30 that now giving off some, whether they're physically declining, whether they're qualitatively declining, and moreover, mentally declining in the sense that they don't seem as hungry anymore. I don't know what they should do. That's up to them. But I think that we might even, I think every option should be on the table. Maybe it's even time to, for the first time, consider if it's time to part ways with Simone Inzaghi. I don't know. I'm not saying that they should. I'm saying every option has to be on the table, because it's starting to look stale. It's starting to look stagnant. And if they decide that Inzaghi is the guy they should continue going forward with, then they should make that decision pretty soon, and they should start selling off players to bring new blood and freshen up the squad, because it's looking stale and it's looking easily read, and that's just not good enough. But the maths of it, yes, Inter are still very much in the title race. They're still, they got Lazio in the Coppa Italia. They can go far in there, and then they got the Milan derby if they win that, and then they got the Champions League, whether it's against PSV, Feyenoord, Juve, or Milan. Like, they have lots to look forward to. But as Inzaghi himself said, February and March is decisive. February has stunk for Inter.
Yeah, well, let's move on to Napoli, who Inter will play in not the next match day, the match day after. Is it next week? Is it next weekend? Isn't it?
No,
not
it's
this.
next weekend.
Not
is
this coming weekend. The weekend after. Yeah. Okay. So Napoli draw their third game in a row, 2-2 at Lazio. They concede another late equalizer to drop 2 points, which is concerning for Napoli. They didn't play well again, and they didn't deserve to win. It was it was justice. That it would have been an injustice if Lazio had lost this game. But at the end of the day, they were minutes away from winning, and they couldn't hold on to that lead, just like they couldn't in Rome a fortnight before against Roma. And initially, I was going to blame Conte for this, because I didn't understand that last sub that he made, where he brought on Marin for Mazzocchi with 5 minutes to go. Politano went left back, wing back. Di Lorenzo went back to right wing back, which is where he started before moving to centre back. And I was going to blame Conte because I thought it was totally bizarre with Marin never playing in Serie A this season. Politano was at fault for the goal. There was confusion at centre back, and Politano almost gifted Dia a winner as well after that as well. So I was initially I was going to be critical of him, but then I saw after the game that apparently Mazzocchi asked to go off. He had nothing left to give, and he asked to go off, and Conte was forced to make this change. And that, I guess, that kind of sums up really the fact that this was the change he was forced to make in. This sums up where Napoli are now. Their squad is, and their options are so way off Scudetto quality. The bench is genuinely, they have a bench that's lower half Serie A level. It's that average. And this was summed up by Conte in the second half when he needed to make a change, turning to his assistant. He was caught on camera asking his assistant, Christian Salini, chi posso mettere? Like, which means who can I put in? Said in such a Conte way. And really
Stellini.
that sums up where Napoli are. I mean, And I've said it. I said it after the January mark, and I am taking my victory lap now. He's been let down by Manna and the club in January. I mean, he's having to start Juan Jesus and Mazzocchi in games, big games like this against Lazio. He's having to bring on Politano to play at left wing back, who then cost them a draw because he's not a wing back. And that injury of Neres has really kind of devastated them more. He's been forced to go back to a 3-5-2 formation in this game. And, I'll say it and I'll say it again, not replacing Kvaratskhelia and not spending that Kvaratskhelia to properly bring depth to the Napoli squad. If Napoli don't win the Scudetto now, having been put in such a golden position, for me, I mean, that's a sackable offence. They were given a golden opportunity to go on and win this Scudetto. And the squad that they have is just not Scudetto. I mean, it would be the miracle of miracles, if Conte can somehow win with this squad. I mean, it's so way off winning a Scudetto. And the signing of Okafor is just an insult, to add an insult to injury. The guy is completely out of physical shape. He needs a month to get just to be in shape before you can think of match fitness. I mean, it's embarrassing that is the player that they came up with to
what
replace.
I don't understand is when I say replace Kvaratskhelia, I'm not talking about Garnacho or a like for like replacement. I'm talking about a replacement in the squad so that he can play 3-5-2, so that he can have the tactical flexibility to do the things that he does, because I think Raspadorian showed that he in a two-man attack in a 3-5-2 is really good, and that's great news for the Italian national team as well as a second striker. I think his mobility, dynamism, link up, the way that he moves, the way that he views the game, his tenacity is just, in a two-man attack, you really get the most out of him. But I don't understand why they didn't bring in another midfielder, or they didn't bring in another central defender, or a right wing back, or a left wing back. You see what I'm saying? Like something to look outside the box. You don't need to play a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 as it is with Conte in this makeshift 4-3-3 system. You could have brought someone else in so that he doesn't have to put Razvan Marin on. I mean, it's
Isn't Razvan Marin? It's the Spanish.
Sorry,
It's the Spanish.
sorry,
But it might as well as be. It might as well.
Sorry, it's not Razvan Marin, but it might as well be, because it's the same quality, if you ask me. It's Cagliari, but it's you don't need to bring Marin on. It's that kind of thing. It's Juan Jesus and Mazzocchi. That's what they needed to do. They need to think outside the box, and they didn't. So for me, that's more the criticism, more than just.
And I keep hearing these people say, but there was no one available. It was difficult. It was difficult to negotiate.
No, I understand that there wasn't a like.
Don't sell
Kvaratskhelia. I understand that there was not a
Don't
like
sell
for
him
like
then.
replacement for Kvara. I get that. I get Adeyemi wasn't what it didn't want to come. Garnacho wasn't worth the money.
Garnacho was stupid negotiating. That deal was always going to be virtually impossible. I don't even know why they even opened talks.
No, but my point is they could have strengthened elsewhere in the squad.
Yes, they could have done. Or if you haven't got a replacement, you're not able to find suitable replacement or replacements, you don't sell Kvara. You keep him. You sell him in the summer for 20 million less. If you want to win the Scudetto, that is. If you don't want to win the Scudetto and you're happy with blowing your chance of winning the Scudetto and just staying top four, even though you might not never get another chance to win the Scudetto for 30 years, fine. Don't replace Kvara. Do exactly what you've done. And now you need a miracle. You need Antonio Conte to perform his biggest miracle to win the Scudetto with this squad, where you've got Juan Jesus and Mazzocchi starting games. You've got Politano playing at left wing back, coming on as a sub to play left wing back. You've got Philip Billing and Billy Gilmore as your first backup centre midfielders. It's laughable. It's absolutely.
No, it is. But it will have to wait and see what happens. But I still think that Conte will do. I've not relented in this. I think Conte will win the Scudetto, and I think he will give his death blow to Inter in 2 weeks' time at the Maradona. That's where I expect Inter to walk right into Antonio Conte's trap.
Well, we'll see.
As they've done against Juve twice, Milan thrice, and Fiorentina once. And
we'll see. The
Napoli
way
well.
Napoli are playing now, they don't look good at all. But I mean, the positives are, I mean, Raspadori had his first start since August, and he scored. It was a really good goal. He was also involved for the Marusic own goal, though it was a huge fluke. And some of his positioning kind of dropping into the hole, and that was causing Lazio tactically. That was causing Lazio some problems. But apart from that, I really can't find any positives from this game. I thought Napoli they looked they looked tired as well, but they looked just slow. There's no pace in this team. Once you take out Kvara and you take out Meret, where is the pace in this team? I mean, Lazio teams are able to pin back Napoli because they just don't have any pace to get out at all. Where is the pace in this team? They're a horribly slow team as soon as you take out Neres and Kvara. So that's why I think losing Neres, having that injection of pace, is a really, really big blow. I mean, they fought, they battled. Defensively, they were pretty good. I mean, I don't think they give too much away. You kind of expect that from Conte's team, but they barely created anything. They had 2 shots on goal. They scored 2 goals. One of them was a huge fluke. Let's be honest, massive fluke, one of the biggest flukes of the season. And Lazio had the better chances as well. Isaksen missed a sitter at 1-1 just before Napoli went ahead. So yeah, it wasn't good. And again, when I was having a look at these underlying stats for Inter last night, I had a look at Napoli, who are 2 points ahead at the top of the table. Napoli have overperformed their expected points by 10 points. That's absolutely insane. They've got 10 points more than they should have had based on their expected points. They should have 46 points, which is the same number of points as Juventus. That's how much they're overperforming. Now, usually that should be unsustainable over the course of the season. It should be unsustainable, which basically what that means, it doesn't mean that Napoli can't win the Scudetto. What it means is that, and also there isn't that many games left. There's only 14 games left. They shouldn't be able to win the Scudetto. But what it does mean is they have to start playing better, because if they continue playing like this, eventually they will they will end up getting closer to that expected points. That's just generally how it always works if you ever follow it. So they need to play better. They can't continue playing as they are, or they're going to continue dropping points. And I agree with you. I think that Como away is going to be a very, very difficult game, because Como are playing really, really well, and they just dominated Fiorentina, and they've made some big signings in January. And they have 2 fantastic young players in Diao and Paz and others as well. So I think that's a difficult game. The way that they're playing, Napoli, I don't fancy them in that match at all. They need to improve.
No, neither do I. And I think it wouldn't surprise me one bit if we went into Napoli versus Inter with both of them on the same points, which is a possibility. If Napoli draw Como and Inter beat Genoa, they're on equal points. And now you have a real championship decider in February.
Yeah.
So that's not an impossibility. But look, again, for Napoli, they have everything in their own hands. They have once a week. They need to just get through this difficult period, because they do have it is a difficult period. The fixture list is tough. They have 3 draws in a row. I think the reason why they do have 3 draws in a row is it's a Napoli that did well against Roma, but Angelino's equalizer at the death really destabilized them. I think that really hurt them. That was a game they should have won, and it's an interesting one. I was tweeting this out, and they concede another late equalizer. It's the 3rd game in a row where they lose a lead. They've won 4 games after conceding the goal first. They've dropped 3 games where they've dropped points after scoring the first goal, and 4 matches where they've dropped points from a leading position. Napoli are a difficult side to analyze from this aspect. It's very much a it's a moments team.
Moments, yeah, they are. They're like England in the Euros under Southgate. Moments FC.
It is a bit Moments FC. Conte's put structure in place, but because they lack quality, it's Moments FC. And I think one thing, though, that does speak for them is, I don't like to talk about luck, but that second goal, Conte should just play the lottery. I don't know. If I live to be 1,000 years old, I don't think I'll ever see a more insanely bouncy, lucky goal at the top level than that Marasic own goal. I've never seen anything like it. I laugh when I look at that. I've never seen anything like it. It's beyond cartoonish and comical. And if you're scoring goals like that, maybe it's just your year. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't even believe in that stuff, but I've seen so many things this season go his way where
Well,
it's like,
yeah, I think the fact that they are 10 points above their expected points as well kind of tells you again, like we were
yeah,
saying, sometimes you got to separate the result from the performance.
yeah,
Everybody, winning when you're playing bad, that is a cliche, but it's true. When you
mm,
win when you're playing bad, that is the sign of a good team, but not if you win playing bad every single week, because that's unsustainable.
yeah,
That is unsustainable. And but really, it should have been unsustainable for Inter to be for Napoli to still be ahead. The way that
yeah,
generally they haven't really played that well. That their attack hasn't been firing, haven't been creating enough. But they're there, but they have to improve. They have to because they are gonna, if they keep playing the way they are, they're going to continue dropping points. It's as simple as that. But it's not easy for Conte because, like you said, who do I put in? It's,
why is he so funny when he looks so frustrated and like,
he is funny. Do you know what? That
he's
wasn't the
funny.
funniest moment of the game was after about 5 to 10 minutes because it was really windy. I tell you, his wig nearly blew off. Did you see it? It nearly
Yes.
blew off. It
It's
went.
not a
It
wig, he's
got
had a
literally
hair
whatever
transplant,
it
Carlo.
was. Whatever it was, it blew up into the air and it looked like it was about to come off.
Like, he's funny. Like, when
But
he looks so devastated when he's frustrated. I mean, the Chico Zumettere. Like, he looks so like given up. Oh, he's funny, man.
I'm surprised he hasn't had that rant yet, like he did. Where he
No,
basically.
well, I'll tell you why he hasn't. He's not stupid. This is I know exactly why he hasn't had that, because he's in the lead. The
Yeah,
second he's no longer in,
he'll
this
he'll
is the
come
thing.
out. Yeah,
This is another dimension as well to this. When Conte's in the lead, he doesn't internally, he doesn't go ape shit.
yeah.
He can't, because he can't handle being chasing. That's when he loses it.
Mm.
Being chased, he loves it. He lives for it, and he's dangerous at it.
I
But
agree.
chasing, he can't handle that. He cannot
I agree.
handle
I agree.
chasing.
I think the moment that Napoli, if they do fall behind
Yeah,
into the
then
title race,
he'll go off
he'll,
the
he'll, he'll
rails.
go out. He'll go after the club for what happened in
Oh, he
January.
will start
100%.
throwing people left, right, and center under the bus.
Yeah,
Like that. That's just how he is. He
because he does
cannot
that even when
handle.
they've had good transfer markets. So
Yeah.
I dared to think what he's going to do after what Napoli did in January.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, if we're here in like a month's time and Napoli are 3 or 4 points behind, or 2 or 3 points behind Inter, he's gonna lose it.
Yeah,
There's
for
no doubt
sure,
about that.
100%. Lazio, though, I thought they played a good game. As I said before, I thought it would have been an injustice if they lost. They didn't create as much as they usually do, but they're playing against Antonio Conte. But they created more than Napoli for sure. They had all the pressure. They were playing the football in this game. And Isaacson did miss a sitter at 1-1. And of course, they were very unlucky to concede that second goal. I was impressed by them again. But what's also impressed me with Lazio is physically, like they look in really good. They
Exactly
look
that.
in really good shape. I mean, they look
Yeah.
physically in much better shape than Napoli, and Napoli are playing once a week, and
Mm.
Lazio have played a lot of football. So that is testament to Baroni and his whole team, his physical conditioning team. That they seem to be consistently looking. They consistently look in good shape physically this season. That's very impressive. So well done to them. I thought Isaacson overall had a superb game. He's kind of goes under the radar a little bit. I mean, he's not the quickest winger, but he can. But he does go past his man. He's a good
Yeah.
dribbler. He's very good, kind of in tight spaces on the edge of the box. And I mean, he caused Juan Jesus and Mazzocchi all kinds of problems in this game. He scored his goal, although I thought it was a merit error. I wanted to criticise Merit for that in the Napoli section. I thought you can't get beaten from that
I
far
think
out.
both goalkeepers were horrendous in this game, if I'm
Yes,
perfectly
they
honest
were
with you.
because he Moravdel was at fault for the
Yeah.
first for the
I would go so far as to say that I think Lazio should change goalkeeper in the summer. I think this is not working anymore. It's been long enough where Provedel has been falling
yeah.
off.
I agree with that, and I say the same for Napoli as
I
well.
think Lazio deserved to win this game. I thought they were much better than Napoli.
Yeah,
I was unbelievably impressed with how Lazio play, and exactly that point of how well Baroni has handled playing 3 times a week for the first time in his career, I might add. Has been so impressive. Lazio they are a joy to watch. They really are. They are wonderful,
they're
a
not going
wonderful
anywhere.
team.
Napoli, Lazio. They're not. They're
No, no,
not.
no. They're going to be to the end.
Yeah.
And look, more than the Champions League, I really hope they win the Europa League. I really do so. Unless they play Roma in the final, at which point I don't care who wins because I'm just going to pop my popcorn and enjoy the show. But unless they play Roma, I hope they win the
Well,
Europa
let's hope
League.
they don't meet in the next round if
Yeah,
Roma
no.
go through. But yeah, no, I agree. I thought Lazio were really good. Zaccagni, Zaccagni is a player that has really grown on me this season.
Yeah.
I never realised just how quick he is. Like his from 1 to 5 meters, he is lightning. He has these incredible bursts where he just gets away
He's
from,
explosive. He's
explodes
very
out away from.
explosive.
Yeah, and he's 30 this year, so he's not a
But
spring
it's not just
chicken.
that he's explosive, it's also that he reads
He
situations.
glides with the ball in those first
Yeah,
five
he's
meters as
very
well.
good at reading the game, and that gives him an advantage. And he's also very quick to react, which makes him look faster and more explosive than he actually is, I'd say.
He's
He's a
playing.
very
He's really. I mean,
intelligent player.
that bicycle kick was. He's got fantastic technique as well. Obviously, we
Yeah, no,
scored
he
that with
does
a
have.
goal in the Euros. That
Yeah.
Ala Del Piero goal, but that was a brilliant bicycle kick. He's really so unlucky to have that disallowed. And I have to say, he's really playing at a top class level at the
Yeah, he
moment.
is.
He really is, and it's. I mean, I don't know. Will he still be playing at this level when he's nearly 31 at the when the World Cup comes along? At that age, you can age quickly overnight. So I don't want to say 100%, but if the World Cup was this summer, the way that he's playing, I mean, is sort of like how do you leave him out of the Italy team?
He can't play in a
It's
3-5-2.
unfortunate because they play a 3-5-2, but the level that he's playing at, he's playing so well. I mean, he's absolutely fantastic, Zaccagni, at the moment. Brilliant. He's at the moment he's one of the best players in Serie A. Zaccagni, he really
Mm.
is. So it's yeah, he's been great. And he's really I didn't think he had it in him to play at this level. I didn't. I thought that Lazio maybe was his level, but not at this level. You know, so really good. And the other thing, like when we're talking about depth, Nima,
Mm.
criticizing Napoli for having no depth, even criticizing Inter before for their maybe overrated depth.
Mm.
Lazio have depth. They've scored more goals from. I mean, Boulaye Dia comes on and he equalises. Lazio have scored more goals from substitutes in Serie A this season than anybody else, and that says it all. That
To
says it
me,
all.
that says it. No, to me, that says two things. One, they've signed players intelligently that suit the system, but also it shows that Marco Baroni reads games brilliantly. He knows exactly when to do what, and that's why they pay off as well, his substitutions, as they do. His read of games is outstanding. And the fact that when you as a coach know when to make a sub, what sub to make, in what time to make it, and it pretty much always pays off, that tells me your read of the game is outstanding as well. And no, I think Baroni, regardless of what everyone else does, I think Baroni is out up there with coach of the season. I think he's done an absolutely phenomenal
Yeah,
job.
he's a contender right now. Obviously, we have to see
Yeah.
how the season finishes, but
But
if
I mean, I just got to say, like the way that Lazio play, Rovella, Ganduzi, the way that they build from the back, the way that they like absorb pressure, the way that they press, they know when to fall. No, they play wonderful football. They really are a joy to watch, and it's it's a bit like this is what he's good at, isn't he, Lotito? I keep saying it. He's very good at these year zero kind of projects, and maybe even year one, but it's the last step after that where he kind of falls apart. But to be fair to him, he does have a couple of trophies. He's won quite a few trophies. He's been in the Champions League. I would absolutely love it if he could win a European trophy, if Lazio could win a European trophy, and Europa League. And they've really been impressive in Europe as well. So,
yeah,
you know,
they
good
have.
luck.
We'll see how they get on. Atalanta. We can say that all the top three blew their chance. Let's say this weekend. I think Atalanta definitely, of all of them, blew their chance the most because of the opposition, the opponent they were playing. You know, Napoli and Inter had lost in the round before, which meant Atalanta had returned to -5 from Napoli and -4 from Inter, but going into the game, and they had three good games in a row, and as we said, it was a chance for them to really put themselves back in the race, um, uh, ahead of the kind of a tough run that they were going to have, and they blew their chance. They really virtually created nothing in this game until kind of like the last 5 minutes, where they kind of went for it and they had a couple of chances. Apart from that, they did nothing. And what we've learned from this game is that Gasperini took the Club Brugge second leg more seriously. He rested De Ketelaere, Ederson, De Roon, Bellanova, Zamacosta, Jim City, all on the bench. He took off Retegui. He took off Retegui on 55 minutes. He started the likes of Toloi, Suleimana. He brought on Palestra and Vlahovic in the 55th minute. Young players, youth players. So he didn't really take this game seriously.
Which I
At
think
all.
is exactly what I think I said on Thursday pod that he should do. He has to focus on the Champions League. They can't go out against Club Brugge. It would be an injustice, especially given what happened last week and the manner in which that defeat came. I'm glad he did this. I mean, they weren't going to win the Scudetto anyway. If they were top of the league at this point, then I would have given more credence to it. But they're not in the Scudetto race, and I just don't think they are,
You don't
because
think
now,
so?
no, I don't, because I look at what the games that they've coming up, and we discussed it myself and Patrick discussed it on the Q&A last week. If you look at Atalanta's games coming up in the Serie A, after Empoli and Venezia, they've got Juve away, Inter at home, Fiorentina away, Lazio at home, Bologna at home, Milan away. They're not going to be in the Scudetto race anyway. They might as well go for glory in the Champions League, where their football pays off the most and where they can actually make more money, and then hopefully are able to give more expensive contracts and keep their best players, so that we actually see them make a deep run in the league next season, as opposed to what happened last season.
I don't know. I mean, the way I look at it is, if they'd have won this game, they would have been 2 points behind, no, 3 points behind Napoli, and they would have been 1 point behind Inter. With those two teams playing against each other in a fortnight, um, they'd have been right there. Okay, they had a hard run. Would have had a difficult run coming up, and they would have dropped points there. But I was speaking to Patrick about this at the weekend, because obviously he loves Atalanta, and I mean he said, well, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to try and go for the Scudetto. Would it not have been better to go to try and go for the Scudetto more than the Champions League? Because realistically, are they going to win the Champions League? They could win the Scudetto, especially with Napoli, the state that Napoli are in, and even Inter kind of dropping points as well. I don't know. I think he overdone it. Let's put it that way. I think he rested too many players. I understand also that they have got a bit of an injury crisis at the moment, and physically they haven't looked themselves recently, which is really unheard of for Atalanta. That you associate them, Bangsbo, with being physically in great condition. They didn't look sharp. They've lost intensity. Same was against Club Brugge as well. Like, really didn't look have any much energy. And I mean, their form in 2025 was very disappointing. Won 3, drawn 5, lost 4. They've been poor in 2025. They had the odd game. I think they had a 5-0, that game that Retzky scored for. But let's be honest, overall, 2025, Atalanta have been poor. And that's why it's worrying ahead of Club Brugge. I mean, if they play like they have in the last 2 games, it's not going to be easy to turn that round. We'll see how that penalty scandal, and that's what it was, affects them as well. Yeah, Atalanta need to snap out of it. They really do. And I just hope that this decision they don't regret this decision.
No, I don't think they will. I don't think there was a serious chance for them to win the Scudetto, given the fixture list that's coming up. I think the Champions League is where they should go the hardest for, because I think they play a football that pays a lot of dividends in Europe, and I think that they are, as outsiders and dark horses to win the Champions League. Yes, I do think they are. They're not the favourites, but as dark horses go, they absolutely can. They've shown that they can win in Europe, and they've shown that they can beat fantastic sides en route to winning in Europe, like they did last season. And I'm not. So I think Gasperini did the right thing. I think they should just go for glory in Europe. The players will be fired up there as well. They're going to finish in the top 4 regardless. They have a safe cushion. They're in the top 3. They're going to finish in there in the top 3. I think I'm not worried at all. I think this was the right decision given where they are. They're not going to be involved in the Scudetto race.
Let's move to Milan, who almost failed to win as well. It took them 75 minutes to finally break down Verona. They were struggling to break them down up until that point. They were struggling to create clear-cut chances, but a moment of magic from substitute Jimenez, who did a fantastic scooped pass to Leao, who then laid it on to Jimenez to tap in, and Milan got the 1-0 win. And I think this showed that kind of what we said last week, that Milan have so many attacking options, have such a great bench also with attackers that they can bring on, that when you get these games that where you need to bring on offensive players to turn the game for you, and they have it. I mean, 2 subs made the goal for Jimenez, for Jimenez and Leao. I'm going to call him
Yeah, Jimenez and Jimenez.
Yeah, it's difficult to differentiate between them. But young Jimenez, let's say, baby Jimenez.
Jimenez with a J and
Yeah.
Jimenez with a G.
Yeah, it was the 2 subs that made it, and I think that's the difference. One aspect of Milan this season is they have often struggled to break down teams that defend really, really deep, and I think that's been addressed in January, especially like with Felix is very good against these kind of teams, it was the deadline day signings. Or the January signings have definitely made a difference so far. Sotil didn't play well though. He started this game. He was disappointing, but the others, I thought Felix was very lively again. Jimenez scored, and Walker, Walker's been good so far as well. So I think that it was an important win for Milan. I still favour them to finish above Juventus. I do. But obviously they've got a little bit of work to do to catch up, haven't they? Because they're a little bit further behind. They're playing catch up. But overall, important win for Milan.
Yeah, it was a fundamentally important win for Milan because Juve, as it turned out, beat Inter, which means that they, now they're still within touching distance of Juve. If they win that game in hand, they'll be 2 points behind Juve on 25 points. On 44 points, 2 points behind Juve 46, Lazio on 46. So it was very important for Milan to win this game. And it was a frustrating game, and they spent a lot of energy against Feyenoord midweek, and they needed to win this. And now they've got Feyenoord in the week, and they have to win that as well. So it's all have to win games now. This is the business end of the season. This is exam season for footballers now. Now's the time to show what your metal is made of for everybody. And Milan, they got the job done without impressing too much against Hellas. So that's all you take away from that. But it's going to be very interesting to see, because Milan after Feyenoord have Torino away, they have that Bologna game, and then they have Lazio. So big games coming up for sure for Milan.
Yeah, for sure. Big games coming up for Roma. Oh no, I do want to make one point though, one negative about Milan. That shirt, my God, it was disgusting.
Why does it have quotation marks around it, around the name? I don't get that. Can someone please send me that?
I didn't even see the quotation
marks. I don't understand
marks.
why the names have quotation marks.
All I saw is a black shirt with green at the bottom, which was just disgusting. It's one of the most revolting kits, or one of the most revolting shirts I've ever seen. It's absolutely disgusting. It looked on TV, it looked like black shirts with green shorts. That's what it looked with. But then when you see it close up, it's just at the bottom of the shirts are green. Awful. Yeah. Ugh. Yuck. I mean, who the hell designed who designed that? I mean, we said this with the Roma kits, didn't we, at the start of the season when we were picking our best and worst kits. Like, it's literally impossible to mess up the designing of Italian football shirts. They're all so beautiful. Yeah. Like, how do you?
You're working with such good material that it's almost impressive when you mess it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Impossible. Talking about beautiful, Matias Soule, finally he emerges for Roma. Absolutely beautiful goal, free kick to win the game for Roma against Parma. They beat Parma 1-0 away at the Tardini, and it was Soule who was the difference. He won the free kick, which got Leone sent off, and then he curled home an absolutely gorgeous free kick from the edge of the area into the top corner. Just absolutely beautiful. We just don't see many free kick goals anymore, unfortunately. Like many of the most beautiful aspects of football, they've been completely removed or disappeared from the game. And I think free kick specialists and beautiful free kicks are one of those, which we don't see much of anymore. So when we do see it, and you see one as amazing as this, you just have to appreciate it. And this was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, finally, Soule does emerge. He was the landmark trade, the landmark signing of the summer,
Yeah, the
and
marquees.
it hasn't worked out for him. Not really his fault because he's a winger, and Roma don't play a system of wingers, but he's clearly got talent, and Ranieri has also said that he believes in him and he doesn't want to get rid of him. He didn't want to get rid of him in January because he believes that he will come good when the environment is right for him. And he got a rare
Agreed.
start in this game because Roma rotated a bit because of the Europa League playoff game coming up, and Dybala with an injury as well. So he started and he produced.
No, he did, and I think Ranieri's right. I think they should keep him and just keep him going, and then until next season, bring in a manager that can get the most out of him. I really believe that Soule is the way forward for Roma. I think they have to build around him. I think he's a wonderful player. I think he's got so much talent. He's young. I really believe that they should build around him, and I think Ranieri's absolutely right. That's absolutely right when he says that. But yeah, they do have they have a very fiery game coming up against Porto, which they have to win. They need to go through there for, if anything, for the Italian coefficient as well. We need all Italian teams to go through from this
Yeah,
playoff
we do.
stage.
We'll talk about that in a second. So the rest of the weekend fixtures, I'll just run through the results very quickly. So Bologna 3, Torino 2. Undoy with 2 goals. He's playing great. So they remain a real top 4 threat. Bologna, they're right in there in the race. I do want to give a shout out to Elmas, who scored a brilliant goal for Torino. That was gorgeous. A weekend of great goals, actually. Some fantastic goals in Serie A, including from Nico Paz. What a goal he scored as Como win 2-0 Fiorentina. That left foot curler from the edge of the area into it wasn't even into the top corner. It was so accurate that it hit the post at the top of the corner and went into the other corner off the post. It was absolutely magnificent. He was actually, when he took that shot, he was actually virtually facing his own goal. Like he whipped it round the corner with like from like 100, what's the right angle, 180-degree angle, is that the right way to describe it, the way that his body was facing his own goal, and he whipped it round with his left foot. Oh, what a goal.
Yeah,
He's
stunning.
a hell of a player, but also Diao has been a wonderful signing for
Yeah,
Como. He's got 4 goals in 7 games since joining in January. He scored against Milan, Juventus, and Fiorentina. Another young, I think he's 19, Diao. So yeah, Como are really building something, and they dominated this game and really deserved to win. So well done to them. Como and Napoli next, and Fiorentina very poor without Moise Ken. Zaniolo started and was very bad. Um, and
no,
what?
what's his name? Prade was furious after the game as well. Was very very angry. I think Palladino's doing the best he can with this material. I don't think we can expect more. I think he's overperforming
Yeah,
where they are, and I don't think Fiorentina can complain
I
too
agree
much.
with that completely. The only thing I would
Mm.
say is that Palladino went full Allegri in this game. Played a 4-4-2 with 4 central midfielders in midfield. He went full Allegri, and so I have to say that was bizarre and definitely helped
Mm.
Como dominate this game. That was just weird. Why the hell he would go? Why the hell he would do that? I think it worked against Inter in the 3-0 win, and he seems to think, "Oh, let me continue using that now." Maybe, I don't know. Uh, Monza nil.
Udinese also take a very important win against Empoli to kind of clear themselves off of all relegation talk, whilst Empoli are in free fall.
Yeah, Udinese 3, Empoli nil, Monza nil, Lecce nil, and Genoa Venezia play on Monday in a game which I'm sure Nima will be watching.
Of course, I am.
Um, Champions League and Europa League playoffs. So we have on Tuesday we have Atalanta, Club Brugge, and Milan final. Both are a goal behind going into that game. So they need to turn that around. And Juventus hold a narrow 2-1 lead. against PSV. They go to Holland, to Eindhoven. That's going to be very difficult as well on Wednesday. And then Roma 1-1 with Porto in the first leg, and they are at home for the second leg. Look, we need to win all these games. I'm not going to sugar. We have to win all these matches. The teams need to win. It'll be a huge failure if any of these teams go out. So we need to. I'm just hoping that referee scandal, for what it was, doesn't cost Atalanta. I really do. There's been no apology or even comment from UEFA after that, which I think is disgraceful, that they've just ignored it and not even acknowledged what happened. Shameful. I don't know what Gravina's doing. He should be demanding a public apology. I mean, we know he's just UEFA's man, but that is just embarrassing. Stand up for your league, because that should not be allowed to happen. Atalanta as well should be going public with that. That should not be allowed to just go without any repercussions or even any comment from UEFA. Shameful. So I hope that they can turn that around. Also, because, Nima, as you said, the coefficients, Spain have now moved ahead of Italy in the race for second place in the coefficient table, which will get the fifth spot in the Champions League next season. So as a result, it's just like I said, it's a must win for Juventus, Milan, Atalanta, and Roma. They all have to go through.
Yeah, they do, and Rome. Yeah, all of them have to go through to the round of last 16 for the coefficient. Otherwise, Italy have zero chance of overtaking Spain, because they divide those points per, as you know, how many points you get per. They divide it by the number of teams, and given that Italy has so many teams, they're going to get less when they win points. So they need to win all of them.
Yeah, they have one more team in Europe than Spain at the start of the season. That is, so it gets divided by 8 rather than divided by 7 for each game for Spain. So Spain will make more as a result. Let's finish off with Baggio, Premface, and Serie ASS of the week. So Baggio, talking about anti-Italian discrimination or anti-Roma discrimination, this is brilliant. This is where we're at right now. It takes the nicest man in football to attack the referees, the European referees. This is where we're at right now. Claudio Ranieri's attack after the 1-1 draw with Porto, where the refereeing was just downright embarrassing in this game. They I don't know how many players did Roma get booked. Was it like 8 bookings and a red, and I think 2 red cards, one for Cristante and one for one of the coaching staff as well. If you watch that game, that was not a game for 8 yellow cards. It was a game for maybe 2 or 3. You know, like if you actually look at each incident, like the number of yellow cards he gave for nothing in this game, and Ranieri then goes on a massive rant at the end of the game where he basically says that the referee was basically just giving everything to Porto and was waiting for Porto to for an excuse to give Porto a penalty, and that's why he dragged all his players away from the referee at the end of the game. Not because he was worried they were going to book him, because he didn't want them to greet him, because he didn't think the referee deserved to be greeted, which was brilliant as well. And then he attacked Roberto Rossetti, who is the UEFA managing director of refereeing. He went on a massive attack against him.
Which is what I wanted to talk about, because when I saw that, I was like, yes, of course. The Roma versus Rossetti war rages on to see a new day. Roberto Rossetti is the UEFA managing director of refereeing now. This starts in 2003 in the Coppa Italia final that Milan won, where Rossetti was refereeing the second leg. The match ends 2-2. Milan wins 6-3 on aggregate. Totti scores a brace. He gets sent off. Cassano gets sent off for insulting the referee. He suffered a foul by Laursen, that wasn't called by Rossetti. And Cassano does a Cassano. He tells the referee to va, fa, and so on. And he goes off doing the corna gesture, which means that Rossetti's a cuck. And he's suspended for like 5-6 games. After this, Roma beat Inter twice with Rossetti in charge in the 2007 Supercoppa, a De Rossi penalty. Roma feel they should have had 2 more penalties in that game, and 3-2 in 2005 in Serie A. But in the Supercoppa game, Perotta yells at Rossetti, "This way you will make us lose the game," to which Rossetti replied by sending Perotta off. Now fast forward to February 27th, 2008. And this is the game that puts everything at a head between Roberto Rossetti and Roma. It's a 1-1 draw at the San Siro. Totti scores the opening goal. Mexes is sent off for 2 yellow cards. The first one where he gets a yellow card for he was injured, he was taken off the pitch, and then he was going to run the full length of the pitch, and he crosses the corner so that he's onto the pitch without permission, and he gets a yellow card. Then his second yellow, he gets it's a rash challenge on Crespo. Zanetti equalizes, and Roma feel the Scudetto was stolen from them. And then that becomes a war between Mexes and Rossetti. Christmas 2008, Catania beat Roma 3-2. Mexes sent off. Rossetti, the referee. Sampdoria 2-2 Roma, same year, gives a penalty to Roma, but he gives the yellow card to the wrong Sampdoria player, Rossetti. Instead of Palladino, who's now at Fiorentina, who's already booked and he should have been sent off, he gives it to Lucchini. February 2009, Regina 2-2 away. Mexes gives a penalty for Bernardo Corradi, who scores. 2009, Milan 2, Roma 1. Penalty given by Rossetti for a foul by Burdisso on Nesta. Burdisso yells at Rossetti that it's never a penalty, and Rossetti responds, "If De Rossi had scored the equalizer, you wouldn't have been speaking about this penalty." And all chaos and hell breaks through in the tunnel, and De Rossi says, "I can't wait to get out of this shithole." And then, of course, Roberto Rossetti and the comment that Ranieri was referring to. A friend of mine told me that Rossetti gave us Anthony Taylor, of course, the referee in the final of the Europa League. Let's remember Ranieri was also the Roma coach in 2009, September 2009 to February 2011. So he's a veteran of the Rossetti wars. And of course, to finish this brilliant drama and brilliant irony of this drama is that Roberto Rossetti, of course, replaced Collina in this current role with UEFA in 2018. Collina, an outspoken and known Laziale, and now Roma are lamenting that Roberto Rossetti replaced a Laziale. So it's a very, very Italian shit show, this, and it's the Rossetti wars between Roma and Roberto Rossetti continue to live another day.
Yeah, amazing. I still can't believe Ranieri was the one to bring this all out. Premface of the week, we have got Jamie Carragher again. I think that's 2 weeks in a row. Who was asked to name his greatest goalkeeper of all time, and he went for, who did he go for, Nima?
Neville Southall, who I think is a nice guy. I actually like Neville Southall.
Neville Southall was a great goalkeeper, actually, in the 1980s for Everton, in a wonderful Everton team that won a couple, maybe 2 English titles. They won a European UEFA Cup as well. He wasn't a Welsh goalkeeper. He was a fantastic goalkeeper, and he is a good guy as well. Come on,
greatest goalkeeper
of all time. I mean, come on. I mean, that is Premfacery, because it's the kind of you go for a player that played in England. Do you know what I mean?
Because that's the one he knows.
Because you don't know anyone outside of any goalkeepers outside of England. Do you know what I mean? It's like one of them. Do you know what I mean? It's oh god. And somebody looked at him. I think it was Michael Richards looked at him. Southall? And Carragher looked at him like, yeah, what? So Carragher is Premface of the week again. Serie ASS of the week, we have...
I have 2. One was sent in to us by Patrick Kendrick. He said, my submission for Serie ASS of the week is a Twitter user called Nicole Tosi. She was fed up with people, quote unquote, stealing her content, which her content was recordings of Sky Sport Italia from her TV, where she added her name to the videos as like a watermark, a DIY watermark. And this ultimately backfired as she went viral, and it prompted Sky to report her for copyright violation. And then it triggered a series of posts from other users mocking her, including this illegal streaming website, Roja Directa, rebranding their site to Nicole Tosi Online. Italian Twitter is
Yeah,
insane.
some people don't understand copyright, I think. Also, Franco Vasquez, if true, is big scandal.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
The Bari coach came up after the game and said that Franco Vasquez racially abused Mehdi Dorval. Franco Vasquez plays for Cremonese. He plays for Cremonese in a draw, in a 1-1 draw at the Stadio San Nicola. And the coach came out and said that named Franco Vasquez for calling Dorval the N-word, essentially. Now, according to Sky Sport Italia, the FIGC match officials overheard this and have put it into the match report. We have to wait and see what comes there, but this is genuinely, it's just stomach churning. A player, if this is true that he said that, then that, I think he'll be suspended forever, as is true, because as is the right decision, because racially abusing a fellow player like that on the middle of in the pitch is just, I mean, for goodness sake. And also, here's another thing: if the match officials heard it and they put it into the match report, then there's not much to talk about, really.
Yeah, it's been a bad weekend for racism. There was a similar incident in England that's got a lot of it's caused a lot of controversy as well. Burnley's Hannibal Medjbri, I think former Man United player, he accused Preston's Milutin Osmajic of a racist comment during the game. In fact, he went ballistic. He tried to get the game suspended. He went ballistic during the actual match. So yeah, not a good weekend there. I do have one final one. I don't know if you saw the official Serie A match graphic before the game, building up the Juventus versus Inter Derby d'Italia.
No, I didn't see it.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's schoolboy art basically. It's Thiago Motta and Simone Inzaghi. There's like a zebra and the Biscioni behind Inzaghi, but it's just so amateurish. Like the bottom right of the picture, there's the Juventus logo, the Inter logo, and the date of the match, and they're so small you can't even see them. And then there's the Serie A logo in the top right, and then number 27 in the top left. I don't know why there's number 27 there. Or maybe match day 27. Maybe that's what it means. But yeah, no, it's not
But
match day.
it's
Not
match
match
day
day 27.
25.
Yeah, I don't know what number 27 is doing in the top left anyway. Yeah, I have no idea why that's there. Yeah, it's very 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 strange. It's this is where we're at. I mean, it just looks horrendous. It's I could probably do a better job. And as I've said many times during GCSE art, when I was 15 years old, I was asked to draw the horizon in art class, and I drew the sun in front of the mountain rather than behind the mountain. And I think I could do a better job than this.
Oh dear.
Okay, right. Let's leave it at that. So we will be back later in the week for Q&A, and then of course for the a review of the midweek Champions League matches where we need Italian clubs to win. So please, guys, let's do this week. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a great week. Ciao, ciao.